Okay. So we need to talk about genre, okay? And genre is all about convention. So the action genre, right? The genre of action movie. We know it because we've seen action movies over and over again, and they all have kind of roughly the same pieces that are put together in roughly the same way. Okay, so if we think about how a movie like The Dark Knight starts, is we get this really big action sequence. Right off the bat, we're thrown into it. We're going to meet some of the main characters. But this is also not going to be like the main plot of the movie. It's going to be a side plot that just kind of gets us introduced to things and shows us some exciting stuff right off the bat. And if we look at another action movie, right? So The Dark Knight Rises, later we get exactly the same kind of scene in exactly the same kind of place, right? Where we're going to get this big, impressive action sequence. It gives us what we came for. We meet some of the main characters. But again, this isn't the main part of the movie. And all sorts of things have genre, right? So some genres are more strict and some are less strict, okay? So business letters, okay, like the kinds of things that they teach you how to write when you're applying for a job. This is a really strict genre. You're expected to have all of the same parts and they're expected to be put together in pretty much exactly the same way, okay? And understanding genre is really important because a lot of life, a lot of professional life, a lot of communication is kind of about showing up looking like the right thing, like you're wearing the right clothes, okay? So if you don't have all the right pieces in your business letter, you stick out, okay? This is more important when we start talking about when you're, say, making a website for a client, okay? If somebody asks me to make a shop site for them, they most likely want it to follow the conventions that shop sites have, okay? Or if I'm making my personal site, I probably want it to immediately look like a personal site to the person who comes to the page because that actually helps the reader a lot or the user of the website to understand, okay, I know what kind of site I'm on, I know how to use this kind of site. So you're already communicating to the user just by kind of following these conventions. Um, so let's talk about, say, the conventions of a shop website, right? And conventions, especially for websites, change over time. They're not as strict as a business letter, but there's still really large patterns that we can learn from. Okay, so this is a site that sells eyeglasses. Um, we could talk about these messages that we've seen popping up with COVID, but for the most part, we're going to have like a logo or a title for the site. We're going to have a menu that will generally show me the different kinds of things that I can buy. Okay. We often have this kind of sub menu or secondary menu up in the top right corner that's going to have a cart. It's usually going to have a sign in or your account things. Locations isn't always here, right? So that's a kind of flexible part of this genre, and often a search bar if it's needed. Then we're going to have this main section of the site. This is one way that genre has changed. We used to see a lot of slideshows right here, but lately what we're seeing are just these big images that call out usually a product category that they want to direct you to, right? Here are new this kind of glasses, something like that. And these usually take up a pretty good amount of space. That's part of genre too, is right how prominent are these things. We usually find something like this, which is it's almost like a mission statement, okay? And this is usually below this, right? So that's part of genre. What comes before what's more important than what. Then we have often a section where they're going to be able to call out certain things. So we call these call outs, where we're pointing to maybe a feature, maybe a product category. A lot of times you'll see these three across on websites, right? Image, 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 pointing you to three different sections of the site. This is a format that we're starting to see more often. Email sign up, usually at the bottom of the page, usually right here. And then we've got the footer of the site. Okay, so this is a big piece that has pieces inside it, and the footer is usually going to have menus. It's usually going to have more extensive menus than the menu at the top. It's going to have the contact information broken out, and a lot of times in the footer we're going to have social links and things like that. So that's a genre analysis of a website. And the reason that it's really important for you to understand the genre that you're working in, the reason that we're really going to emphasize genre when we talk about websites, is first that you need to be able to produce something that aligns with a genre. But second, as you start to want to, say, break a genre or bend a genre, you need to understand how you're doing it and why, so that you're not just kind of randomly placing things, but you're really, intelligently making decisions about how you want to be communicating with your user, whether you want to be doing what they expect or what they don't expect. Okay, so kind of to summarize, genre is about what are the pieces and how are they organized. Okay, websites have genre. It's just like movies have genres. Genres can be either very strict or more flexible. Okay, websites tend to have slightly more flexible genre conventions, but it's still really important to understand them before you start working in a genre.